Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. And here are our top stories: tech tips for working from home and dealing with mountains of e-waste. Well, joining me now is Daniel Klein. He's a senior technology and consumer products reporter with The Motley Fool. Dan, thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So Dan, you're a gentleman who works from home like myself, and we do a lot of work, and from the time we get up to the time we presumably go to bed, many Americans out there may be working from home because their company has established a work from home protocol. So Dan, what are some tips that people can take to be more productive?
Yeah, it can be a bit shocking if you've always had sort of an office routine, which I did for a lot of my career, to work from home. And what I tell people is have a routine. Just because you're at home doesn't mean you have to operate any differently. And I try to be what I think of as rigidly efficient for at least the first half of my day. Mm-hmm. I get up at about 7:15. I brush my teeth, wash my hands, go to the bathroom, do whatever you need to do. Not in that order. The wash your hands part would be last.
We understand.
And then I sit on the couch and I turn on the television. I put ESPN usually on because I'm used to working in a newsroom. I'm used to there being noise behind me. I'm not paying significant attention. All of the stories are about Tom Brady now, and I don't want to hear any of them, so I'm mostly ignoring it. But I like the noise. That might not work for everybody. And then what I do is I do the things I have to do. At 7:30, I send out emails to Motley Fool's partners with some of the newsy stories we have for the day. It's something I'm doing more than once a day now that we're dealing with coronavirus, but usually just once a day. And then I do the task, still sitting on my couch, I least want to do. So I spend whatever it is, whether that takes an hour or 2 hours, about 7:30 to 9:30, and I do what I have to do, and then I write the story I least want to write. Mm-hmm. And I do that in what's called a time sprint. I never knew this term, but I read a book. I edited a book for my friend Mike Schultz, president of Rain Group, coming out in a few months. Can't buy it yet, but a really amazing book on productivity. And I now know this is called a time sprint. What I do is I spend about 20 minutes very, very focused on what I'm doing. I don't look at my phone. I try to ignore Slack. I generally just write, and hopefully I finish, but probably I don't. And then I take a 2 to 5 minute break where I catch up on my emails, I answer my bosses, I say goodbye to my wife, whatever it is. And I keep doing that until I've completed my least pleasant task of the day. Then I take a little bit of a break. I play with the cats a little. Then I move into my office and I do sort of the same thing from roughly 9:30 to noon, where again, I'm triaging. I'm doing the stuff I have to do, deadlines, things that are promised, or the things I don't want to do because my energy is highest during this part of the day. And ideally, once I get to noon, maybe 1 o'clock, I've finished everything I have to finish. So I know most people's days don't work this way, but I sort of operate on a quota system. So if I've finished what I finished, that means that at 1 o'clock I can go to the gym, I can go take a swim, and usually I do take a prolonged break. Now, mind you, I started at 7:30, so I'm more than halfway through an 8-hour day. When I'm done with that, usually at about 2 o'clock to 2:30, I then focus on either things I really want to do, those are really easy, or things that will make me more productive for the next day. If I've already sort of hit my quota, maybe I'll write 3 halves of an article, so when I get up in the morning, I can knock out 3 things really quickly. Maybe I'll write 1 more article than I had planned to, so I'm kind of in the bonus, because one of the things you should plan for when you work from home is that things might go wrong. If you work from home and the stove breaks, you might be stuck dealing with the repairman coming over and having it take that. There's some indignities that come with working from home that are just unfortunate. If my son is sick at school and someone has to pick him up, does it make more sense for me to do it, or for my wife, who has a traditional job that's 20 minutes farther from his school, for her to do it? So a lot of that stuff. And what I don't do during the day is any of the fun things in my house. I'm sitting, you can't see, but on the desk in front of me here is my Xbox, PS4, all sorts of fun stuff. My R2-D2 toy.
Oh, there you go.
And I don't play with those things. Not that I'm playing with R2-D2 all that much, but I don't take a video game break. Now, it's fine if you're a person who could take a defined 20-minute video game break and that recharges you for the day, that's great. I find that I'm better off taking things I like and doing them after my workday. The other piece of advice I give people is just because you work from home doesn't mean you're always working. So have a defined workday and a criteria for when you break from that. This is very hard for me because the more I work, the more I get paid. So it's always tempting to at any time of day say, well, I'm not doing anything useful. I should be working and making money. But what I try to do is after dinner time, I will answer email if it's critical. If me not answering prevents you from doing your job in the morning, then yes, I'll answer you. If me not answering stops you from booking a flight or making a decision, of course, I'm going to answer. I have some management responsibilities, so sometimes I have to do that. But if you're asking me something that I can easily answer at 8 o'clock in the morning and it'll be just as valuable, then I wait till 8 o'clock in the morning. Because just because you're home and that's also your workplace, you don't have to always work. And it's important to budget out time for family. I always make sure I'm free unless I'm like on television or something when my son gets home at 3:30. And that might just be for 5 minutes. How was your day? Do you need any homework help? What happened today? And sometimes if at that point I'm technically done for the day. Maybe we go shopping, maybe we go to the pool. So it's very important to sort of realize that there is work and there is home, and it doesn't have to become a big blend of always working.
Yeah, I think that's really smart in terms of being productive and also getting some downtime. Dan, we've got about a minute left. Technical challenges. What do people need to think about who are not currently working at home but will now do it? What about bandwidth? What about connectivity?
So this is a big one, and I'm about to share it on the Motley Fool Slack channel because while we've been working from home for a few weeks, we decided as a company. I always work from home, but my in-office coworkers, we decided to close the office for a month. And a lot of companies are going to do that. What's going to happen in many cases, I live in a building. If everyone is using their internet at 6 o'clock at night, my internet slows down. So one of the things I've done is I bought an adapter for my Mac and a cable. So I actually hard plug myself in to the internet, which takes my speeds. They're basically 5 times faster. It makes a video connection better, and it gets rid of that sort of slowdown period in the afternoon. Now, if everyone ends up working from home, you're going to have more of those slowdown periods. So right now, go to Amazon, order that adapter. If you might not need one if you have a PC, but my Mac needs one. Get a cable. And then the last piece of advice I'll give you is be very skeptical. Don't click on links that you don't know what they are. Don't go to websites that you're unsure of. There's a lot of scammers out there, and the last thing you need to do is have your work computer get infected at a time where you can't walk it into IT. So be very, very careful.
Yeah, real smart. So Dan, I want to keep you over. We're going to go to break real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk to Dan about electronic waste. You're not going to want to miss this, so stay tuned. Right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Dan Klein, Senior Technology and Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool, and he's also working from home as he always does. Dan, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
You know, it's funny, working from home as I always do, but as we've talked about on this show, I travel a lot. And sort of all non-essential travel has been canceled. I was supposed to be in the office next week, and obviously with our office closed, that doesn't make any sense. I was supposed to go to a trade show in Vegas in a couple weeks. That's been canceled. So I'm getting a little bit of the shut-in syndrome. Like if I appear on the show next week with a crazy beard and look like I haven't showered in days, you know, you might want to call authorities.
Okay, well, we'll make sure we talk to your wife and son about that as well. So Dan, EU, the European Union, really concerned about cleaning up electronic waste, and I gotta think that you have opinions about this.
Yeah, it's actually something we've kind of overlooked as a country in terms of how we recycle. But I think everyone knows that you're not supposed to just throw away a monitor or a computer, that there's proper ways to recycle that. And some communities have a method to address that. Most do not. And I know I've solved that by, and you can't see the desk around me, but there's 4 different laptops on this desk. So I have just put off the question of recycling my laptops by ignoring it. But what the EU is doing is putting in some procedures to properly dispose of, dismantle, and reuse pieces of technology. You know, we all know you don't want to just throw away your laptop because it's not erased, it has your information on it. Yep. On the other hand, you may want to donate your laptop. So you have to figure out how to erase it. And that's something that's not always easy to do, though in general, most computers have a setting to completely reboot, and you should do that before you give something away. Right now, it's contact your community. It's probably on your town or your city's website. How do I dispose of these things? And there might be a designated drop-off point. If there's not, I would look at contacting Goodwill or Savers or other places that take donations and ask, are you accepting working monitors, used laptops? And before you do that, make sure you absolutely wipe everything that's on there, including things that you don't own. If you have Microsoft Word on your laptop because you're licensing it and paying the fee, you don't want to give it to someone else and let them have access to it because, one, that's one of your installs that you can't use elsewhere, or even if it's a piece of software that you physically own the disk and you think, well, there's no harm. No, that's stealing. You're not allowed to do that. So be very careful to reset it to factory original settings, get rid of all your information, all your software.
You know, I actually pulled out the hard drives from some of my old computers and disposed of them by going to like the Best Buy and giving it to Geek Squad and having them kind of do whatever they do with it to recycle it. You know, it's interesting, Dan, I was, now that I work from home, I was able to look at YouTube on my breaks, and there's a whole industry or whole group of people, of collectors who collect old 486 computers, 286 computers, 8-bit computers like the Apple II. And that's why I keep on bringing it up on our network is, you know, I think it's really interesting. And those things could be donated to people and, you know, be refurbished and resold and maybe reused by some people in the classrooms. I mean, do 8th graders or 3rd graders really need the top of the line Super Pentium or Super MacBook. Maybe not. Maybe they could use an old Apple II that's been refurbished. I don't know.
Yeah, and even look within your family, because the extra laptops I have sitting around my house are actually perfectly viable computers. Now, I'm lucky that I have a family that's pretty tech savvy, so everyone has computers. On the other hand, I know at various points my mom has used an old Mac of mine. She's taken my previous generation iPad. I gave her my old phone, which I had paid off, which she used to trade in to buy a newer phone. Which of course I could have done, got the money, but never mind. So you really
good for your mom. Good for your mom, though, Dan.
You want to think about who in your family might make use of it. So sometimes it's just an email, or even put out on Facebook, hey, I have an older computer, but it still works. It can surf the internet. It can check email. Does anyone need it? You don't know who's in financial distress and can't buy something. Your old 32-inch television that you've replaced with a 70-inch screen might be really valuable for someone. I know when we first moved to Florida, we had previously had a vacation condo here and got rid of some of the things we had in it. And a lot of it we'd intended to sell, but our realtor came to us and said, hey, I have this woman who's living in an apartment. She fled an abusive relationship. She has no furniture. If you have anything left, she'll take it. Well, we ended up giving her a lot of stuff because that's the right cause. Ask your school, ask your kids' teachers, do you need these viable old things? Would a monitor be helpful? Would a computer be helpful? Hey, I have a printer. It's hard to get ink for it, but there is one place you can get ink. Do you want it? Do that first, then figure out how you might recycle. And certainly look on eBay and see, maybe you're sitting on the Mac I used in college, which is now worth thousands of dollars, which didn't cost thousands of dollars in the first place, but it's become a collector's item. So be smart about how you do this stuff, but don't just put a computer in the trash. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah, you brought up recycling, and think about the plastics. They can be repurposed, reused. I mean, the shell that goes around the computer or the device, the silicon that's in the chips or the RAM chips or whatever other components, the copper, the wiring, all those things can be reused, Dan, and repurposed and refurbished. And there's a whole, like we were talking about, there's a whole industry around that, taking these old elements. And you're right, you can't just dump this stuff into a landfill and hope that there are no repercussions. So I guess choice number one is, after you wipe it, donate it. Choice number two is get it recycled and repurposed.
Yeah, just be smart about it. Look, I know that I use electronics more than anyone I know. I generally keep a laptop for no longer than 18 months because I'm on my computer all day. So getting my hand-me-downs is pretty great. Getting the hand-me-downs of the rest of my family who uses computers until they're obsolete, until literally software won't update or you can no longer log into your bank account, well, those computers are going to be less viable, but to certain people, they may still be viable. There are no shortage of charities in your community that will probably be able to find homes for you. Don't pass your junk off. Your broken monitor, your laptop that doesn't boot, find out how to recycle that. But your 3-year-old computer that's just no longer perfect for you, or your TV that doesn't have quite as thin a bezel as the one you just bought, look around and see who you can help. And if it can't help anybody, find out what the proper method to recycle is. Unfortunately, in some communities, there might not be a method, and then you might have to get a little more creative, but try your best to do things properly.
And now that you're working from home, you've got more time. You can save the commute and do some of this research on your own. Dan Klein, always a pleasure chatting with you. Don't go stir crazy, because we're still going to need to talk to you on the podcast later in the week, and we love having you back on the program. So have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, and so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.